What's up, tribe? Excuse me, how you guys doing? This is gonna be David Makes Man, season 1, episode 9. Please hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. We probably getting ready to auger. Shouts out to L Teddy 27 because this episode didn't do it for me. Didn't do it for me. Now let me say this: that intro though was everything. Everything. We start off, and you know from the very beginning that this is one of David's moments. Like, you can tell that from the very beginning. It's filmed in black and white. Everybody is wearing white. They're carrying the casket. You have like liturgical dancers. You have the guys doing like a step routine. You see the mother, falling out crying. Miss Elijah is walking her along. They're carrying the casket, and it's a plain pine box. It takes you, it's very, if you've ever seen an old slave movie or late 1800s, early 1900s down in the South where someone was being buried after like a lynching or something like that, it took me there. Then you have Felicia Rashad narrating and explaining the traditions and of how we bury and the wailing, and it was everything that. And then you had someone singing. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me who that was singing. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, baby. And then David is on the balcony and he's crying. He's like watching this whole thing unfold. And JG's mother turns into his mother. And she's crying and wailing. And it's everything. Okay, now let me tell you that. That intro, everything. Whew. Almost took me out. It didn't, but it almost did. Then then David sort of wakes up and he's back in the real world. He's in the Ville and they're cleaning up. They had a memorial for Willie. And that's an inside joke. You gotta watch the panel from last week to know why I just did that. But they're packing it up because the storm is coming. Now, y'all know how they put the memorials out for the fallen folk, especially, in certain areas. And they put teddy bears and flowers and all kinds of stuff. And they usually keep it there until them teddy bears can get up and walk away on their own. But unfortunately, because the storm is coming, they have to clean it up. And everybody is feeling how they feel. Shinobi is losing it. He has boarded himself up in his apartment, honey. He's got bottles and bottles and bottles of water, and he's got lights, and he is ready to shelter in place. And he's decided he ain't going nowhere. He keeps seeing his brother. He keeps seeing Willie Derrick. And he can't shake it. He can't get high enough. He can't get drunk enough. He is still there. The landlord, not the landlord, the property manager, she comes because it's her job to not only make sure everybody evacuates, but she needs to know where they're going. I guess for emergency purposes. She needs to know where they're going. And she gonna knock on Shinobi's apartment, and Shinobi like, what you want? And she was like, you have to leave. He was like, no, I don't. He was like, I got enough water. I have enough supplies. I'm not going nowhere. And we see that he does end up staying in that apartment, riding out the storm. David is doing what David does. He's like, what are y'all doing? Why are we still here? Mama, you got to pack up. We need to figure out where we're going. And of course, she don't know where to go. She doesn't know where to go. David is like, but old girl gonna be knocking on the door in a minute, basically saying we gotta get the hell up out of here. Because he's seeing all the stuff going on in the Ville. Like, everybody's packing up. Everybody's going where they gonna go. And we see that he got money. So the rent going to be taken care of because he got his little bit of, he been working his little hustle, honey. He got his little bit of money. He goes down to, he sends her out of there now. She gets up. She said, make sure that JG gets packed. JG is a whole thug. Lord, JG is a whole thug. He funny, but it's not funny because you see where he's going. But it's so funny. He gonna call David an asshole. His mother was like, "Look, just because you more than your little friend." But anyway, she gets up and leaves out the apartment, and she tells David, "You make sure that JG gets packed up. I'll be back." Now, what we do see is later on, we see her coming out of Miss Elijah's apartment. I think I must have to agree with, I'm not sure if it was Ebony or El Teddy who said that they think she getting high, because I think she might have went over to Miss Elijah's apartment and got a little something, little bump, little pill, or whatever to get herself through this, because she's stressed out and she don't know what she gonna do. She ends up packing them all up for them to get up out of there. And she ends up taking them over to JG's granddaddy house. And y'all know that's a party house on a regular day. So you know everybody and their cousin then showed up to the party house. And let me rewind before we get there. David goes to take out the trash and everything, and he runs into his little girlfriend. You gotta know I remember that girl. Tara, yep. He runs into Tara, and they have a little bit of a moment. Willie Derek's mom is going with them, and they're gonna go to her sister's, her older sister's house, and she's like, my mom want to hurry up and get on the road before the traffic gets too bad, and she's upset, she's crying, and she's sad over Willie Derek, and she sort of leans into David to get a little comfort, and David puts his awkwardly like a little 8th grader would, puts his arm around her. And then he goes into one of his little visions where he's envisioning that he's, looking into her eyes and getting ready to kiss her. And of course he's not. And she sort of, pulls him out of it, like, you all right? And she's, David's like, yeah, I'm good. But we see that David, he's thinking along those lines with her. Then we see Dreadlock Kool-Aid Boy. He's at home. You remember we saw in earlier episode that he lives in a good neighborhood, that he don't live in the Ville, right? So he's at home at his mama house, and the nice little cushy house, and of course they ready to wait out the storm. And his mother says, I've been trying to call you, you're not paying attention. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm listening. He had his headphones on, and she said, what you been doing, And he said, I'm good. I haven't been getting in any trouble. And she said, you've been leaving out of here early. You've been coming home late, and you look like you all jittery. What you got going on? Like, what got you so nervous? Oh, no, I'm good, Mom. I'm good. She said, all right, well, get ready for dinner. I'm getting ready to go cook dinner. And your uncle will be over here. He was like, who, what? She said, yeah, your uncle's going to come over here and ride out the storm with us. His business trip was canceled. So now Ray he's stressed out. He's on 20. Like if he was on 10 before, he is on 20 now. The uncle shows up, and the uncle plays nice in front of his sister, but he lets David know, yeah, me and you gonna have to have a little talk. We're gonna have to have a little talky talk. Back over to the granddaddy house. Like I said, it is party central. David think his mama got a drink. He done snatched her cup out her hand. He drinks it and realizes that it ain't no alcohol in it. His mother was like, look, I know you think you my daddy, but you are not. And I'm going to need you to go sit down somewhere and chill out. And the granddaddy was like, yeah, do I need to take you out back and get somebody to take you out back and teach you a lesson? You always act like you grown. You ain't grown. So then they can't find JG. They go and find JG. They think JG talking to himself. But he's not. He's telling one of the other little friends that he done met, and I'm using the word friend loosely. I'm going to tell you about friend in a minute. And he's telling her about him losing his friend and his friend dying, but it's just all part of the game and how he ain't afraid of death. So they think he's talking to himself, but they realize it's a chick in the corner getting high. And when I say friend, I mean she looked like she probably somewhere in her late 20s, early 30s, and she getting high. And it didn't look like weed. It looked like it might have been something in a pipe. So that's when Gloria is like, okay, we got to get out of here. And that's when they end up getting ready to go over Gloria's mama's house. And they're riding the bus, and on the bus over there, she asked David, she realizes that Saren is still missing. And she asked David, you sure you don't know where Saren is? Now, see, here's a lesson, parents, on asking your children the right question. Because he didn't lie to his mother. Just like I told y'all last week, he didn't lie about not knowing. Now, the question you're not asking is, do you know how Saren left? Do you know why Saren left? Who helped Saren leave? What was the plan for where Saren was supposed to go? Asking him, do you know where Saren is? And him saying no, technically, it's not a wrong. You're not lying. You don't know where he is in that exact moment. But you know more than what you're saying. And she says that to him. She said, you sure you don't know more than what you're saying? And then his response was, I don't know where Saren is. See, he didn't answer her question. Now, going back to Greenleaf last night, see, that's why Lady Mae wouldn't let AJ get away with not answering her question, because she said, did you have something to do with the robbery? Did you rob that store? And he kept going all around the answer instead of the direct answer. But anyway, that's another show. That's another review. Let's get back to this. Back over to Ray's house. Uncle's there, and Uncle's saying, look, I got a pocket full of money, and I don't know how it got there. And just as Ray's about to come up with whatever explanation he gonna come up with, there's a knock at the door. Auntie is like, well, who is that? Because she's picking up on the tension, and she said, what's going on with y'all? What's the tension right here? And before they can really get into it, there's a knock on the door. Well, who was at the door? Little light-skinned Jamaican boy. I said, oh, look. Ray's face looked like he done seen a ghost, honey. His eyes were this big, and he was nervous as hell, okay? And they get to having dinner. And I was wondering, because for someone who act like he was scared of Ray acting like he was scared of Jamaican man, he kept antagonizing this man. I mean, he was like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? You don't have nowhere else to go. Why are you not with your family? And the man kept answering this question. He said, well, you know, my wife and kids went up to New York. You know, I decided to stay here and ride out the storm. Your uncle invited me over. No problem. He said, so you let your kids go to New York while you stayed down here? Sound like you a deadbeat dad to me. And I was like, why are you antagonizing this man when you look like you saw a ghost when he walked in the door? But then it all started to make sense. So, he starts coming at Ray about Sky. Now, what I'm not clear on, when David and Ray sat down and had that conversation, did David let Ray know that this is the man that killed his father? I'm wondering. But neither here nor there. He starts making digs about, well, at least I'm still here. You know, at least I didn't leave my kids, got caught slipping and got myself killed. So, you know, that set Ray off. So then he going to say, but don't worry about it. Maybe I'll be your new stepdaddy. And he looked at his mother, you know, he looked at Ray's mother talking about something. Hey, Ma, how you doing? Baby, that was all it took. Ray picked up that knife, honey, and he went after the light-skinned Jamaican boy. Now, he was no match for him. Okay. Next thing you know, Ray laying face down on the table, about to get his... Unc saved the day. Unc put a gun to the back of light-skinned Jamaican boy's head and let him know, what you not gonna do is put your hands on my nephew, especially in my sister's house. And he very nicely put his ass out in the middle of the storm. He gonna tell the sister, give him an umbrella. She was like, are you serious? He was like, honey, she handed him an umbrella and put his butt out in the middle of the storm. Now, in my mind, when it first went down, in my mind, I was thinking, it ain't real. Like, this is not a setup, because, of course, they couldn't anticipate that the argument was going to happen. However, the whole we not cool anymore thing, and I'm going to put this man out my sister's house, I felt like that part was maybe a little bit of a setup. But then what I really realized was it wasn't necessarily a setup on that end. It was a setup on, this was part of Ray and David's plan. Because Ray ends up having a conversation with his mom. His mother, because he ends up with his eyes busted open or whatever, like right above his eye. And his mother's a nurse of some sort. We get that. She talks about a new wing opening up at the clinic and things like that. And she's talking to him about, she said, look, I never wanted this for you. I never wanted this life for you. And because he brought up his father, he said, I miss him. He said, but people still love him. He left a legacy. People in the Ville, they love him. And that's my legacy. And I just want that. And she said, but he wouldn't have wanted that for you. We never wanted this for you. We didn't want you in the game. Or we didn't want you like us. And he looked at his mother. He said, what you mean? You wasn't in the game. She said, how you think me and your father met? She said, I just chose to do mine over the counter. So that lets you know that she has always been involved in the pill pushing. Now, whether she's still active or not, I'm not sure. Which also lets me know that she's not a fool to what her brother is doing. She probably turns a blind eye to it, but she knows. And she seemed like she's picked up on the fact that he's doing it. And maybe even be working with the uncle. Because like I said, she picked up on the tension with the uncle. She's not stupid. She sees what's going on. Now, whether she's dealing with it or not. But she's not dumb and doesn't realize. And she knows what's going on. So the uncle says, look, Ray, me and you need to have a talk. So he asked him about the money. He said, look, what's really going on? He said, he has the gun on the table. And he tells him, he said, let me tell you something. He said, I'm not going to kill you. I wouldn't do that to my sister. I wouldn't do it to me. He said, but if you are playing me for stupid, I promise you, I will make the rest of your life a living hell. He said, until I take my last breath. So I ain't gonna kill you, but you gonna want to be dead. And he's got the gun sitting in the middle of the table. He said, so speak. So Ray starts talking. And basically what Ray said was, look, I was running some scripts through the Ville. Business was good. We was making money hand over fist. But I sent you your cut. I sent you your money. When light-skinned Jamaican boy came and picked up the money, I gave him your cut. I didn't cut you out of it, He came back the next week smiling and letting me know everything was all good. So I figured me and you was square. I didn't know that you didn't know. Thinking about it. And you could tell his wheels are turning. And he's trying to decide who's lying. Is my nephew smart enough to lie? Or is my boy lying to me? Dumb enough to lie? And the other thing that happened too was Unc came down on Ray like, what you not controlling your neighborhood. Like you let an 11-year-old boy die on your watch. And Ray had a bunch of excuses, but he said it don't matter whether you was arrested or nothing. You are responsible for what happens in the Ville. And he said, so what happened? And he let him know that David took care of everything. And he said, you should be on your knees thanking that boy. So again, Unc sees how David is moving. So for the moment, Unc sort of let it ride and said, it's always your own people who will do it to you. But I don't think he buying it. Like I said, I think both of them are playing each other. I think David and Raiden came up with this scam. And I think that Unc and Jamaican then came up with this scam. And I think both of them are playing each other to see who's lying on who, for real, for real. I don't buy neither one of them. I mean, well, we know that Ray and David are scheming. So that's what's going on over to the house. Ray gives David a call later on in the episode and said, yo, Unc bought it. David was like, cool, don't call me on this number no more. I'll let you know when we good. Like, don't create no trails that don't exist. Now back over to the house. By this time, David, JG, and his mom then made it over to the grandmother's house, Gloria's mother's house. Now, here is where the episode went left for me. Okay, up until then, I was cool with everything that went down. Here's where the episode went left for me. I feel like this whole moment at the mother's house was a very forced moment because it was information that they wanted us to know, but it was very forced. Even from the very beginning, when they knocked on the door, JG goes in the house, David goes in the house, and before Gloria could even say more than hi, Ma, her mama snaps at her talking about something. So you just gonna stand there and let the storm catch you? Well, that's on you then. And walks away. And I'm like, well, damn, she barely said hello. So I feel like that whole, not saying that it was acted badly. I'm not saying that. I just feel like the dialogue was very forced. They were sitting there looking at pictures, going through photo albums, and And I must, okay, let me, before I go any further, I will let go of the thought that Sky is David's daddy. I'm letting it go. Because the mama had a picture of the professor. And Gloria is like, why in the hell are you holding on to this picture of this man who left me standing on his front porch and denied his child? So I'm letting it go. Sky not David's daddy. That story is true. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I've been holding on to this all season. Y'all know I have. But I'm going to let it go. Okay? Y'all got it. Y'all got it. And her mama basically told her, you didn't do what you were supposed to do because you were supposed to make that man leave his wife for you. Not you was wrong for having an affair. Not you would, like, none of that. Basically, her mama said, you didn't do your job and make sure this man didn't leave his wife for you. So at that point, she tells the boys to leave the room. No. So then she said something about them not having no real daddies and this, that, and the other. So JG was like, I got a daddy. She said, your father wasn't no kind of father. He was a common thug. He wasn't nobody's daddy. JG said, you shut the fuck up about my father. Baby, I said, he is thug. JG is a whole thug. And the mama, Layla Rashawn plays the mama. All the mama could do was look at this little boy like, no, he didn't just cuss at me in my own house. So that's when Gloria dismisses them. She said, y'all leave the room. She turns to her mama and says, you a hoe. And from there, we get to Gloria letting us know that her father molested her. And she told her mother that the father molested her. And the mother would not believe her. And Gloria, it's an emotional moment. It's an emotional scene. And the mother tells Gloria, look, he wasn't doing nothing to you. He was trying to shut you up. He didn't do anything to you. She said, yes, he did, and you know he did. And that's why you are a miserable old woman, because I'm paraphrasing, because you holding on to that. It is eating away at you because you know what that man did to me. And the one person that I was supposed to be able to trust, the one person that was supposed to take care of me, denied that it ever happened and kicked me to the curb. She said, I tell you what. Whatever you might think your father did to you, that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you became a drug addict. You chose to start hanging out with Elijah and them. You chose that lifestyle. So regardless of what you think happened to you as a child, you chose to become a drug addict, and now you got these boys living in the hood with no damn daddy. At that moment, David walks in and tells Gloria, you're right. Because she said something about you should have left. She said you should have given your son to God. I guess I'm assuming she means adoption or abortion or something like that. And so David tells Gloria, he says, she's right. If you had never had me, your life would be X, Y, and Z right now, and you wouldn't be X, Y, and Z. She slaps David, and she tells him, she said, you were not a mistake. And then she leaves the room. Next thing you know, David's in the bathroom looking at the picture of his father because, see, he don't know his daddy. He's looking at the picture of his father. Gloria comes running in the bathroom looking for some pills. She don't see David. He's kind of behind the door. She's looking for some pills. She stops herself, or at least she don't find what she's looking for, and then she picks up a heating pad because I guess her ribs are still bothering her. She starts putting water in the thing. It's one of them old-fashioned heating pads, honey. David says, that ain't going to work. The electricity is out. That is an electric heating pad. The water ain't going to get hot and you can't plug it in. She says, you so smart. He said, don't worry about it. I got this. He said, go lay down. And then he proceeds to take his mama one of his oxys. And she takes it. They lost me with this. I'm gonna need to watch these other reviews because they lost me with that whole moment. I did not. You just got finished snatching a cup from your mama at the ghetto hood party house because you thought she was taking. Now I guess because you heard your mother's story, now you feel sorry for her and you understand why she need a pill right now. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Y'all gonna have to explain it to me. So then they get to talking. She found some Laffy Taffy behind a picture of Jesus that had to be 20 years old, which is a sad state of affairs that they ate it and it probably still tasted the same, but neither here nor there. And she proceeded to let him know how bad it was growing up in their house. It sounds like they might have been Jehovah's Witnesses or something, because they couldn't watch TV, they couldn't go out and play, they didn't celebrate birthdays, they didn't. She was like, we just didn't do anything. She said, and I never wanted y'all to grow up that way. She said, I got lucky, I found a friend. And then she starts talking about her finding this friend that saved her, and I'm assuming she's talking about Miss Elijah. But then she starts talking about, you can tell she's talking about Saren. The conversation has sort of flipped to Saren. And she says, so you talked to Saren? She said, you don't have to answer that question. But she's basically letting David know that I know that you know where that little boy is. She said, you know, I'm sorry for getting angry with you, but I don't ever want you guys to feel like you were unwanted. Like, I wanted you. I made that decision. She said, because if I didn't want you, I wouldn't have had you. Then we sort of see where everybody is. We see that Miss Elijah is holed up with the building manager. They're in her apartment. They playing cards and getting along. Now, you know, they got that love-hate relationship, but they having a good time in the moment. We see Felicia Rashad. She looked like she's in some sort of shelter. We see tents in the background. So she looked like she's in some sort of shelter listening to the recording from the school about the school closings, and the principal's leaving a special message about Saren. If anybody has heard from him or knows where he is, please call the police. We see Saren's parents. They're not speaking to each other. They're on opposite sides of the bed. Now, somebody in my comments brought up a very good point. And what they said was, we never heard Saren say what his father was doing to him. And maybe it's the mother and not the father. And maybe Saren and the father do have a close relationship, and he was trying to get Saren away. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily believe that, but I do definitely think it's more to who's abusing Saren and what's really going on in that house than what we know. I definitely think it's more to that story. Then we see Saren. Saren is in a car. It's raining where he is. We see somebody coming out of like a convenience store with some coffee and a bag, I guess, of food or whatever, some drinks and food. But we never see who he's with. And what I'm afraid, because we don't see that it's Star. And if it was Star, I would think they would show us that it was Star. And so we don't know if he found his dad. We don't know if he's with Star. We don't know if he with a trick. And I hate to go there, y'all. I really do. I hate to go there, but we just don't know. So anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna take it back, and I'm not gonna say I didn't like the whole episode. I didn't like that whole moment with Gloria and her mom. I felt like it was very forced. I felt like they wanted us to know a lot about Gloria's childhood, how she grew up, and why maybe she made the decisions that she made. But I just felt like it was very forced. Anyway, next week is the season finale, and it looked like that the stuff hits the ceiling, honey. So I'll see y'all on Friday so we can hash this out on the panel. And y'all let me know what y'all think in them comments. Talk to y'all later. Peace.